Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome to Tom Brokaw Explains Canada to Americans and now I guess to an Australian.
This is the Peace Arch, standing near the westernmost edge of the U.S.-Canadian border, 30 miles south of the Olympic City, between Blaine and Washington State, and Surrey, British Columbia. Olympic City, between Blaine and Washington State, and Surrey, British Columbia.
Okay.
This was dedicated in 1921 to commemorate the treaty that ended the War of 1812 between the U.S. and Great Britain. Remember, Canada was a British colony. That was a long time ago.
Of course.
But the inscription on the arch sums up the relationship. May these gates never be closed.
Wow. Well, that is a very powerful message in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. Obviously, you've got these two countries that are very similar and obviously very close in proximity as well. And so to have something like that on a peace arch, may these gates never be closed, really just trying to hammer home the fact that no, we don't want to be fighting you anymore. A family of countries in that regard. And even though I guess you can certainly just walk around, it's not particularly a gate, it's definitely just an archway. May they never be closed again, just so we can just live in peace between each other.
We share more than a long border, of course. No dotted line can divide our joint stewardship of a treasure of natural riches.
Absolutely.
From the Atlantic to the Pacific, and back again. Shorelines, wild rivers, and Great Lakes.
Look at this coastline and everything. My goodness, I want to take it back to this. I think I've seen where this is. It looks like up near, I guess I'd call it the southwestern coast of Canada. But then just moving on to these other places, like where is that? That is insane. I mean, it kind of looks like somewhere that New Zealand would have, to be honest. Nowhere in Australia. But I honestly don't even know if New Zealand would have somewhere like that because that looks like it's connected to the ocean, for goodness sake. That's insane.
Natural riches. From the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Awesome.
And back again. Shorelines, wild rivers, and Great Lakes. Vast forest and grasslands.
Yeah.
Precious ores buried in majestic mountains, and wildlife everywhere. From sea to shining sea.
Oh.
Canada and the United States share another unique quality.
Oh, what was that
They're
bridge? Oh, I've definitely seen it before, but I don't know where. I just recognize the green and the kind of, what is it, cross bracing? And it is obviously just a very tall bridge with the cityscape in the background. It's a weird perspective, but anyway, I would like to know if you can let me know.
The United States share another unique quality. They're immigrant nations, destinations for people around the world who long for political freedoms, economic opportunity, and a long tradition of compassion.
Our two nations have the largest trading relationship in the world.
Yeah.
$1.5 billion transacted every day.
Wow, what? $1.5 billion a day? I mean, I guess on this global scale or international scale, $1.5 billion probably is definitely achievable when you're transacting with the US, you know, whatever their GDP is. And Canada's certainly not small either, but when you are actually just doing trade with the US to the scale that they are going to be doing between those two countries, you know, between cars and just, I don't know, minerals and all those kind of things, you really are just going to be easily just climb up to $1.5 billion a day, I guess. But then I wonder, because they showed a lot of shipping route, and so surely Canada and the US isn't doing major shipping between each other. That seems very inefficient, because to be what, loading up a ship with stuff that is originally on the land and then putting it on the boat to then ship it kind of just directly north or directly south and then just unload it, it seems very inefficient when surely you could just put it on rail or something else.
Transacted every day. The two-way trade at the Ambassador Bridge between Detroit and Windsor alone equals all American exports to Japan.
Oh, wow.
And we're so comfortable as neighbors. 200 million people cross the common border every year.
Oh, 200 million people cross the common border. Man, I mean, that means there's a lot of US citizens that are going into Canada, but geez, 200 million. I mean, I wonder if that's one person, if they went back 6 times, if that would count 6 or 1. But either way, 200 million transactions, if you want to call it that, that's a lot of people. But then I just want to come back to here because that is just so alien to me. You know, I've seen grass fields just one after another, after another, after another, but I've never seen anything like that. Are they playing hockey? Is that what they're doing? Or are they just generally out for a skate? I have no idea. And who tends and maintains them? Do they need to be maintained? Do they need to be plowed or iced? Or I have no idea. It's so random.
Canada, some may be surprised to learn, is America's largest oil supplier, and the United States is Canada's #1 tourist destination.
Right. There we go.
In a snapshot, Canada is a huge country, second largest in the world next to
yeah.
Russia. but its population is only about a tenth the size of the United States.
Ah, look at all those provinces that I checked out in the last video. Look at that. You got big old Quebec, you got the Northwest Territories and BC, you got all these different ones. You've even got Winnipeg. I mean, I guess that's not a province or a territory, but either way, it's down there next to that lake. And I think the most surprising one, which I guess is kind of what he said, but the most surprising one was that the US gets supplied the majority of their oil from Canada. Is that because it's being shipped from Alaska? Is it going from Alaska to Canada to US, or is it just going straight from Canada? I have no idea. I've never heard of Canada having a major oil presence.
In a snapshot, Canada is a huge country, second largest in the world next to Russia, but its population is only about a tenth the size of the United States. 34 million, split into 10 provinces and 3 territories.
Hey.
90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the US border.
And also, I guess, as we've learned before, that 90%, 80%, whatever the true number is, but really, having all of those people right there certainly makes it easy to get 200 million transactions between that border.
Residing in world-class cities, thriving farms and smaller towns. With good reason. Life in the Canadian North is only for the hardy.
Oh yeah.
It is remote
Look at that.
and oh so cold. The coldest day ever recorded in North America occurred in 1947 in Snag, Yukon. Minus 81 degrees, not including wind chill.
Not including wind chill, minus 81 degrees. Honestly, it's warmer in space. That is insane. I mean, I guess the poor polar bear as well. How do animals go coping in that? Because we can generally just go inside, or you'd certainly hope you'd be going inside, especially in 1947 without the kind of technologies and thermals that we have now. That just would have been a lot of wool and fur, I can only imagine. But no, I just don't understand how animals can even survive minus 81 outside. Like, let's say you're penguins. I don't think there's many penguins, but surely just the huddle only goes so far. And then just that's even without wind chill, which just probably takes it to minus 150 or something.
Minus 81 degrees, not including wind chill.
Oh,
Jesse the Sponge.
Canadians are so generous, they share with us their brightest stars in music, comedy, acting, sports,
all of these people
and
Canadian.
journalism.
I had no idea that all of those people were
And
Canadian.
if you're in a fight, you want the Canadians on your side. They were in World War II before we were.
Oh wow. Wait, what? They were in World War II before America was? I mean, I guess that's probably because the British called upon them, being in relation to Europe a little bit more. And I guess in saying that, you don't really need all of Canada, even though I'm sure it's nice, but just get Leo Major in there and he'll sort out the job for you.
They were there on D-Day,
Yeah.
in the air and on the beaches. They've been America's most reliable partners in Afghanistan, and it's been costly and painful. Now, when Canada loses a warrior in that distant land, the nation pauses and honors the fallen along what is called the Highway of Heroes outside of Toronto.
Wow. The Highway of Heroes. I mean, it's certainly a tragic thing in that regard. We will remember all the Canadian flags and the yellow ribbon, it looks like. And they have this massive, what is it called? A motorcade, I think generally people call it. Yeah, look at this, just all of those cars. I can only imagine they're not military vehicles, but government vehicles, whatever you want to call them. I don't think that Australia does anything like that when anything happens, negative or positive. And yes, we were in Afghanistan for quite a few years, but I don't remember how many actually lost their lives. Because I don't know if just not everything was reported or what, but I feel as though that when it was reported, you kind of heard about it, but other than that, there just was massive gaps, and so I don't know what the real numbers were, but I feel as though it was quite low, hopefully.
Even their diplomats have been there for us. In 1980, a year before the conclusion of the Iranian hostage crisis, 6 American embassy personnel would escape from Iran in an operation organized by Canadian Ambassador Ken Taylor.
The United States is thanking Canada for rescuing those 6 American diplomats from Iran.
Taylor hid the Americans after the U.S. Embassy was stormed, created fake Canadian passports, then flew.
Wow. Okay then. Well, I guess it's kind of illegal in some regards, but when you're an ambassador, you can do that or something. I mean, it's obviously for the good in terms of just saving people's lives, but just imagine if that was just a general excuse that people could use. Oh yeah, you know, I was a little bit worried about being injured, so I just created an entirely new international passport. You know, no, you don't mind, do you? Oh, it's like, hang on a second, that's completely internationally illegal. But I guess in saying that, it's very fast thinking, because all of a sudden the embassy was attacked, I think is what they said, and then he's just like, no, come over to my house, you'll be fine, we can just chill and you'll go home eventually.
Fake Canadian passports, then flew the Americans out of Tehran with a bogus cover story. The 6 in disguise as a mod-looking Hollywood film crew, allegedly researching a prospective sci-fi flick.
Look at all the glasses. Why they all have massive
Allegedly
glasses? Honestly, if they had a hat on and you kind of tinted them a little bit, I guess they're just going for the Marvel disguise.
A prospective sci-fi flick. Now, all these years later, Taylor has admitted he was formerly working for the CIA. And if the Iranians had discovered he was an American spy, he would have been in big, big trouble.
Yeah, right.
In our dark...
Wait, hang on. He was working for the CIA, but as a Canadian representative of the embassy up there? Okay, then that's a massive, massive net of lies and politics that I don't want to get into, but, oh, God, your entire life must be so on edge.
In our darkest hours, Canada has been with us. On September 11th, as the United States shut down its airspace, Canada instituted Operation Yellow Ribbon.
Landing 239 U.S.-bound flights with 33,000 passengers at 17 different Canadian airports. And then amidst the uncertainty that followed, entire communities housed and fed those thousands of passengers for days afterward.
Whoa. I have never heard anything about that. It's obviously generally quite American focused, New York focused, and just Twin Towers focused, but that is insane. I mean, it's an incredible show of just generosity and compassion, but man, I don't even know logistically how you manage that. How the hell do you go about landing just all of those flights? They called it Yellow Ribbon, which is interesting because that's what I saw for the military parade. But then, yeah, just how many flights was it? It was like 30,000, no, it was 30,000 people, but 300 flights or something?
Landing 239
US bound flights. Like I said, how the hell do you logistically manage that? I can only imagine there were a few that still had to land because of fuel shortages and things. You know, you're about to land, it's not like they're going to tell you to take off and go all the way to Canada when you got 2 kilometers of fuel left. And I wonder if there was some kind of a radius or something, like surely a flight bound from, I don't know, Washington DC to Florida wasn't then suddenly sent up to Quebec or something. That's a very, very long flight, those poor people. Anyway, I have no idea, but I've never even heard about it. I have to look into that more, I think.
And then, amid the uncertainty that followed, entire communities housed and fed those thousands of passengers for days afterward.
In the long history of sovereign neighbors, there never has been a relationship as close, productive, and peaceful as the US and Canada. We share a continent and so much more. Speaking before the Canadian Parliament, President Kennedy summarized the relationship this way.
Geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. And necessity has made us allies.
Damn, that is one hell of a way to put it, but I love it. I mean, yeah, you said geography has made us neighbours, but I feel as though we would have been friends regardless. I guess in a similar way that Australia and Canada are going to be economic partners and not their neighbours, but, you know, they're just friends and allies and all those things. And so I guess it's certainly pretty likely that if Australia and Canada shared the same border and relationship that Canada and the US shared, then it would be a very similar kind of situation. And really, considering they share the longest border in the world, being Canada and the US, there's just no wonder. And you kind of just have to hope and pray that you're going to be just getting on, because if you're not, then oh man, that would be some serious conflict. Just the amount of resource and turbulence that would be in the entire of North America, honestly, it would probably just destroy the two countries as a whole.
Those whom nature hath so joined together, said Kennedy, let no man put asunder.
Nice work. Stunning scenery.
Of course, there are some distinct differences in the culture. The American fans at these games will be unfurling their stars and stripes at every opportunity and chanting USA, USA. The Canadian Prime Minister had to go before Parliament yesterday and urge Canadians to engage in what he called an uncharacteristic outburst of patriotism, saying, Don't be afraid to wave those flags. We'll apologize to the world for our immodesty later. So that's a big difference, Al.
He hopes he has to do it very often. You know what struck me in that piece among all of the items? There are more people in California than there are in all of Canada.
Well, and Canada has a stronger and more sound economy at this point as well. That's a distinctive difference between the two.
Wow.
Perfectly put.
Well, obviously this guy must be the presenter at the end. And what was this for? Did it say in the description? Is a pre-recorded short film that aired on NBC prior to opening ceremonies in the 2010 Winter Olympic Games in Vancouver, British Columbia. Wow, okay then. Well, that certainly just sums up the entire thing and makes sense why this was an entire package that they deemed to run. And I can only imagine this guy on the right was the presenter, considering it cut straight to him. But no, honestly, like I always say, no matter which of the countries you live in, but including the UK and Australia, just any of these countries, you're doing so well if you live in them. Just hats off to both of them, even though I guess they did kind of do a slight dig at the end there where we're like, well, do you know, even though I guess the GDP is not the same, but do you know that Canada has a much more sound economy at this rate? And so, wow. And I obviously don't know the metrics and I have no data to back that up, but it's interesting to even hear that could be a thing, because I feel as though generally people tie the biggest GDP, the biggest economic superpower in the world to just having the greatest economy, when I guess it doesn't necessarily work like that. And so no, overall, I'm just always in awe of all the landscape in particular. I just absolutely love it because it's so different. You know, I can go to Australia, I can look at some incredible places, we have the incredible scenery, but then just seeing what Canada offers as well, like there's just the tundra and the Arctic element that just is folded throughout the entire country is just amazing. And I guess in saying that, it certainly helps to keep the population levels low because you just have areas like this where I wouldn't exactly want to be living in minus 81, but either way, just look at that. I just have to visit at some point in my life, and I really hope I do. I just have to see this and the Bay of Fundy and a million other things. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then make sure to check out just any other ones I've done. You know, I've done Heritage Minutes, I've done really just you name it, I've got it. Also, make sure to check out the original video down in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.